Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Christy, and on today's video I'm going to be sharing some budget-friendly baking ideas that will be tasty treats for your family as well as easy on the wallet. So today we're starting with banana oatmeal cups. The full recipe will be linked down below in the description box, but here I'm just showing you we're using oats, coconut oil, eggs, milk. In our case we are using almond milk, unsweetened. You also have a little bit of brown sugar and some spices, and then we have our banana. We'll need a cup of bananas, and then honey, vanilla, and we're using mini chocolate chips, a cup full of those. So here we've just been adding all of our dry ingredients together, and you get that mixed up. And then you're going to start to mix up your wet ingredients, and that will include the bananas. So you want to get those all mashed up first, and then once you have a cup worth of those mashed up, you can add in your eggs, your milk, your honey, your vanilla, all the wet ingredients of the recipe to then combine with the dry. So while you're watching me finish up getting these bananas mashed, let me tell you about the budget side of this recipe. The total recipe for 12 banana oatmeal cups or muffins will cost $3.20, or at least that's my calculations based on what I paid for my groceries at Walmart. This comes out to 27 cents per muffin, so definitely affordable and healthy. I also put the ingredients into my FitnessPal, which is the calorie calculator that I use, and they come out to 188 calories each, so pretty good on all fronts. So once you have all of your ingredients mixed up and those chocolate chips all mixed in, it's time to spray your pan and get these dipped up to the muffin pan. The dough was wetter than most muffin doughs you may be used to. It doesn't have any flour in it, and so just be aware it will be more pourable than a lot of muffin doughs, but it turned out great. These baked up very nice. They were nice and moist. And I felt like I was giving my family a healthy option for the week. Next up are mini pancake muffins. You just use baking mix, eggs, and milk. And then you're going to mix all that up in your bowl, and then you have mix-ins that you'll add into the muffin tins. Here I'm using blueberries, mini chocolate chips, and some extra bacon that I had baked up. So then you'll just spray your mini muffin pan and be ready for the batter to be put in. These, let me give you the rundown on the price for these. These came out to $1.41 for a batch of 30. I ended up filling up this pan that holds 24, and then I had a little bit of batter left over, So I put that in my other mini muffin tin, and it made another 6. So $1.41 for 30 mini muffins. And it depends on who's eating them as to how many they eat in a serving, but they come out to 5 cents each that way. And so my girls and I usually eat 3 of them. Neil, we usually eat 4. So 15 or 20 cents per serving for breakfast. That doesn't include your pancake syrup, so you'd have to add that in the cost, but still, very affordable breakfast. So I use about a teaspoon each of all my mix-ins, my blueberries, my chocolate chips, my bacon. I get all those put in, and then I bake this at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. And they browned up nice on the bottom. The tops didn't get too brown. We weren't quite sure if they were done, but I checked with a toothpick, and they were. But the bottoms of them were nice and toasted brown. These turned out great, and everybody enjoyed them. Next, I'm showing you the recipe that I did for making homemade bread. Now, I found this recipe online, and it was my first time to try it, but it turned out pretty well, and so we'll be making it again. I'll have the recipe linked down below with all the instructions, but I'll kind of go over it a little bit as we're looking here. I use a stand mixer that has a kneading hook on it, and I put this bread into 3 pans, 3 loaf pans for this one batch, so it makes a lot. So the first thing you start with is taking your milk, butter, and honey and putting it into a heat-proof bowl and stick it in your microwave. The recipe said for like 45 seconds to a minute until that butter and honey start to melt. I ended up putting mine in there for about 1.5 minutes. My butter never did quite fully melt, but I got it whisked up and made sure that honey was dissolved, and it turned out great. So then you want to let your liquid kind of cool down a little bit. You don't want anything hotter than lukewarm liquid, because you're going to be adding your yeast, and the hot could kill off your yeast. And it just takes the 1 packet of yeast, and then once you have that in there, you're also going to add in your egg. And put that in there, and then you start mixing this up, and you'll add in 5 to 7 cups of flour. That was also a little bit of salt that I just stuck in there. 5 to 7 cups of flour is what the recipe called for, and then she kind of describes, like most bread recipes, that you want to make sure that you don't add too much. You can always add it in as you need it, but it's hard to take out once you get it in there. So I am using here the King Arthur whole wheat flour. We normally buy a Sara Lee whole wheat flour with honey. Whole wheat bread with honey. It's 45 calories a slice, and that's what a lot of times we'll buy. That comes in at $3.28 at our local Walmart. I was able to make these 3 loaves of fresh bread. I used whole wheat flour and have honey in it, like you saw, and these came out to $3.18 for the whole recipe, and I made 3 loaves. So that's $1.06 for a loaf of bread instead of $3.28. So it's definitely more budget friendly than buying the loaf at the store. However, I know not everybody can make fresh bread. You might not have time with your work schedule or with little kids at home. So if it's something you have time in your week to do, I say give it a try. If you've never tried to make bread, it's not as hard as some people think, and it makes your house smell amazing. And it's delicious, and we enjoy it. And this night I was making it to go with my minestrone soup. I'm going to have a video showing that soup that we enjoy coming up too. So I'll show you how I make that in my Instant Pot. But this bread recipe was super easy. Now I ended up using about 5 cups in the mixer is what I ended up putting in there. And then I pull it out, it's still sticky, you can see, and put it out onto about a 1/2 cup worth of flour. And then as you're kneading it on the countertop, you're going to be adding in more flour. So I ended up using 6 cups total of flour, and that's why the recipe says 5 to 7. You won't really know until you kind of get in there and work with it with your hands. But once it is to the consistency of a good dough, and the machine has done most of the work here for me, so I'm just finishing folding in that flour, and you know, it'll be because you have the extra flour added in or whatever, you don't have to worry about it sticking to the countertop. It's not sticking to your hands, and you just kind of work it, and then I will cut it into thirds and get it into my pans. So this recipe only calls for 1 rise. So once I get it into my pans, I stick my bread into my oven. The oven's not on. I just put it in my oven. I cover it with a kitchen towel, and I let it sit for probably usually an hour to an hour and a half. Recipes are going to always say till it doubles in size. My other bread recipe that I've done in the past, you rise it in a bowl covered, take it out after it's doubled, punch it down, then get it into your bread pans and let it do a second rise. This bread did not call for that technique. Now you see me, I'm setting it here at 350 degrees, and the recipe says it only take, well, the recipe said it would take an hour, but for me, it only took 30 minutes. So here it is. It's got a nice dark color because we used whole wheat bread. But what I expected was for it to rise a little more with the heat of the oven, and it didn't do that. So these were kind of short stack loaves, and the other bread recipe that I'm accustomed to using that does a double rise makes a larger, taller loaf. So I'm going to make it again this week and do it with a double rise and see if that turns out. So thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like.